But when it came to the theft, she insisted that she was taking what was hers because she had been given the garments by her master and had worn them while working in his house. The defense speaks volumes. She could make legal claims to her clothing, but not to the body that wore them. Those legal principles also explain Elizabeth's plan. Like Katie, escaped servants and enslaved people generally took their own clothing, assuming those garments were theirs. But some, like Elizabeth, appropriated their master's and mistress's clothing, which was generally nicer and more valuable than their own. The sale of good clothing could fund the journey to a new location, with enough left over for a tidy nest egg. Quality garments held out the possibility of a new life in another way as well, if the thief could manage to inhabit them and, by extension, the social status they represented. While that kind of transformation might seem like a long shot, the law evened the chances of success. The simple act of wearing clothing carried weight as evidence of possession, establishing a visible, verifiable relationship between a person and the garments in question. The legal power of that connection, however, cut two ways. It worked only if others had not created prior claims of their own in a similar fashion. Going about in clothing known to belong to someone else constituted definitive evidence of theft, not ownership. Those legal principles determined the outcome of Elizabeth's scheme. To pull it off, she needed to distance herself not only from her mistress, but also from the entire community where she, her mistress, and the wardrobes were well known. Unfortunately for Elizabeth, she never got that far. Elizabeth and Katie failed in their escapes. But plenty of others like them, people with weak claims to rights, property, or both, used textiles to launch new lives, particularly in the first decades following the Revolution, when it was easier to act on the legal principles associated with textiles. Paying close attention to the physical qualities of these goods, this book shifts attention from written text to objects that also constitute and express meaning, considering how material culture shaped individual circumstances as well as broader social, cultural, and economic dynamics in the period between the Revolution and the Civil War. Textiles were, and still are, particularly evocative objects, functioning as an outer skin that mediates between their wearers and the world around them. The work lavished on making fine cloth and clothing underscores the importance of these goods. Beauty mattered, as did the sound of rustling silk or the feel of soft, warm wool. People went out of their way to obtain particular colors, textures, and patterns, not only to mark their status or fulfill external standards of fashion, but also as a means of self-expression and personal fulfillment. The garments that have survived bear silent witness to the intimacy of their relationship to their owners, whose sweat, oils, and movement left an imprint on the fabric, making it possible even now to see the outlines of their long-gone bodies. The particular legal principles that attached to textiles distinguished them from other material goods. People did not accumulate these things just because they were necessary and desirable, although both considerations were important. They also did so because law made textiles into an economic rarity for those on the margins, a secure form of property. Legal practice recognized similar claims to other kinds of property, particularly food and tools. But neither worked well as a means of exchange or a way to store value. Food went bad, and the market for tools was limited, what with people wanting only so many axes, awls, and hammers. By contrast, textiles were relatively durable and very much in demand. The material qualities of textiles combined with the legal principles attached to them to enable their use as currency, credit, and capital, all crucial components of the developing economy that were otherwise extremely difficult for the majority of the population to access. It is easy to overlook the importance of textiles as economic instruments, backed by law, because they simultaneously functioned as consumer goods. People's savings lay side by side with goods that they used, that could even be one and the same. Shirts, shifts, handkerchiefs, and hose that people could wear went into trunks and cupboards along with yards of unused cloth and garments that they had no intention of ever putting on.